Watch KSTV weeknights at 7:30 and 11 Eastern, and anytime with Insight on Demand on Channel 103.
We are now joined via Skype by the voice of the Wildcats, Tom Leach. Tom, thanks for joining us on the show. How are you?
Doing well. 25-1, it's hard to do much better.
Yeah, not a lot to complain about right now. Now, the last couple of games, the basketball teams seem to have taken a step from being really good to great, almost on a championship level. Now, Terrence Jones was kind of the early driving force behind that after he healed from his finger, really stepped up, responded to physical play. But in the last couple of games, it seems like Marcus Teague has been the player that the Cats have really been able to count on, and he might have been their last weakness. You know, you're with the team, you see it. What have you seen from Marcus Teague the last few games that you didn't see in the beginning of the season?
The big change for me has been the change of a mindset to a pass-first point guard, and that's what the great point guards, they look to pass first. And I think if you look at Kentucky's upward curve in the last really 3 weeks, I think it coincides, probably runs exactly parallel to Marcus Teague's ascension with his game. And you've seen him, I think it really started in or after the Alabama game. I can't remember if it was that game or the next one, where there was a play, and I talked with Mike Pratt about this on the air, where he beat his man off the dribble, which he does very well, but he got into the lane and he immediately kicked it out to Deron Lamb for an open three, and it was the kind of play that he had to set up in advance, and it wasn't, oh, I'm here in the lane, I've got to do something, let me find somebody. He had set that up in advance. That was the first clear sign to me that, okay, this is a transformation here. Here's a guy that's seeing passes ahead, one or two moves ahead, like the great point guards do.
Yeah, you know, I think it's almost like he's found a way to score, but score efficiently. Because before he was taking shots that were not within the offense, and he's finding, I think he's getting easier buckets when he plays that. You know, how is his relationship? You know, you talked a little bit about, you know, his maturation as a point guard. How's his relationship with Calipari in terms, comparing to John Wall or Brandon Knight? They're all different players, but how has that dynamic with Cal been that you've been able to see?
I think that's been fine, much maybe even smoother than those two. You remember that first year with John Wall, it was about the middle part of January, where he came out after a home game and expressed some frustration of not really understanding what his coach wanted. And obviously they were very tight, but that was just a momentary instance of frustration for John. I don't think you've seen any of that or seen any of that verbalized from Marcus, certainly. And I think his body language has remained positive. But I think I go back to the blue-white game. There was a moment where we were doing the broadcast. Dick Averill was on the sidelines, and during that blue-white game, he would get to intermittently talk with Calipari. And at one point, Calipari said about Teague, he's not seeing the same things that I'm seeing. And I think that's the difference now. I think he's seeing the game through the eyes of his coach, or vice versa, however you want to put that. But I think they are in sync right now. And you made the point about getting the shots within the offense, which I think is so true. He took 12 shots at Vandy, which is more than he'd been taking, but maybe 1, 2 at the most were what you'd probably call bad shots. He was taking shots that were there for him, that were given, and he's going to need to take some shots at the end of a shot clock, especially in March when the defense is better and getting down to the end of the shot clock. He's the best guy they have at beating his man off the dribble, so there'll be opportunities there to shoot and pass in the final seconds of a shot clock.
Yeah, and you know, one guy who's also scored his points very efficiently this year is Anthony Davis. He's really benefited from just being tall and being long. The guys get to the lane, throw the ball up at the rim, and he dunks it. Today, John Calipari said that he now has the green light to shoot three-pointers. Now, all season, Davis has seemed like the guy that has more offensive game than we've seen because he's played within that offense. Now Cal seems to be letting him go. What do you make of Anthony Davis? What do you expect? Do you think he's going to become more of a scoring threat for Kentucky, more of a go-to player within the offense down the stretch?
Absolutely. I think you're seeing his offense evolve game to game. He started to hit a few of those little baseline and free throw line jumpers. There will be times where Calipari calls it he'll half roll off a pick, and instead of rolling to the basket, he'll roll to maybe the elbow, catch, and shoot a 15-footer. Back in 2000, I did a few games filling in for Ralph Hacker, was working with Sam Bowie, and Jamal McGlure was on the team at that time. And Jamal liked to step out and try to shoot 15, 18-footers to show the scouts that he had that to his game, when in reality, his future in the NBA wasn't going to be shooting 15 or 18-footers. It was going to be around the basket. And Sam at one point told him something to the effect of, "Big man, you cost yourself $1 million every time you take that shot." I think it's just the opposite with Anthony Davis. Every one of those shots he hits adds about $1 million.
Yeah, and there's no coach maybe that can tell you how much money you're making or losing at the next level than John Calipari. Now, we got about 1 minute left, Tom. So Marcus Teague has become a complete point guard. Anthony Davis is expanding his game. Terrence Jones is reliable. What's the game plan to beat Kentucky? If you're an opposing coach, what do you try to do to beat Kentucky, or do you just hope you have a good night?
Well, hope you have a good night's part of it. I think zone, you saw Vandy have some success with the 2-3 zone, so I think Kentucky will see that at times, especially from teams that have it in their arsenal. I think if it's not normally part of what you do, it's hard to do it well, but teams that normally have it in their repertoire can perhaps slow down the Kentucky offense that way. Another thing, I think really maybe the biggest concern for this team is just keeping Anthony Davis on the floor, and he's been very good at staying out of foul trouble. You wonder at some point how they'll respond if he gets into early foul trouble in a tournament game. That's when Terrence Jones would really have a bigger role than ever. But those are two things in particular, so I think you'll see teams continue to attack at Davis and maybe with the zone.
All right, Tom Leach, thank you very much. We'll check in with you soon. Appreciate it.
Glad to do it.